Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video tutorial I'm going to show you how you can take a complex logic production and perform it live in Ableton. This is actually part 2 of sort of like a 2-part tutorial. So if you haven't watched the first part, you might want to sort of watch that first. I'm going to link it down below in the description. So basically what we looked at in part 1 was how we can break down a really complex session with like 75 different tracks in it and break it down into manageable clips and trigger them in Ableton alongside some kind of like rhythmical one-shots. We also talked about follow actions, and I also showed you a full performance of my track 2 mod. So here's a little reminder of what you saw last time. So in this video I'm going to address the other things that I do in this particular song. So in this second part of the series I'm going to look at how you can map effects to different MIDI controls, how I'm triggering my live visuals, and I'm also going to say a little bit more about the live keys that I'm playing and my vocals as well. So first I want to talk about my effects setup. A big part of what I'm doing live is controlling effects. And the way that I do that is I've basically used Ableton's MIDI mapping functionality in order to assign a bunch of different effects to these controls on my F1. So as you can see, there are 4 rotary knobs, and I've got these faders as well. And very simply what you can do in Ableton is you can just click this MIDI button here. You can click anything that's highlighted in purple, for example this pan pot. And then all you need to do is then wiggle the corresponding control that you want to use to control your software element or your GUI element. I've already done all of my settings, so you can actually see here in this MIDI mappings menu everything that I've already set up. And inside of this MIDI mapping menu you can also choose different ranges. So for example you can decide when this knob is all the way to the left or all the way to the right, what range inside of your software effect or whatever you're assigning it to will that correspond to. So you've got a lot of flexibility for what you can do. I'm just going to quickly go through what these effects do. These 2 control filters, and I'm just going to show you what this looks like. They're basically on the master bus. There's a high pass filter and a low pass filter, and I've set it up so that when I move these dials, the filters actually change their cutoff frequencies. I've also got this reverb. So it's controlling the dry to wet ratio of the reverb. I've got this erosion effect, which basically I've set it up so that when this dials all the way to the left it's actually off. So turning it turns the effect on and then changes kind of the timbre of the effect. And this button here, or this fader, controls the backing vocal volumes. I always have backing vocals that I take with me, and I like to be able to sort of control how loud they are. Lastly, I've got this stutter effect, which is on my music track. It's called Beat Repeat, and it has like a really interesting effect. As you can see, it sounds like this. So that gives me some creativity on top of all the other things that I'm doing. Here's a schematic of my overall mapping to show you what everything does. This is just what I do. Of course you can do something entirely different, and it will depend on your own creative vision. I've already mentioned that usually when I go to a venue I kind of just use the microphone that they've got there, and I kind of leave it up to the sound engineer to mix my voice live according to what they think suits the venue. But very occasionally I also work with an audio interface, and I have the vocal coming into Ableton, which is nice if I want to record my set inside of Ableton itself. And in the cases where I do that, basically I just have like a basic chain of effects or mix parameters, as you might expect for a vocal. So the vocal comes into this channel strip, it gets a little bit of compression, a little bit of EQ, so the EQ just like rolls off the low end a bit, gives it a bit of a high end boost, which when I'm in like a large boomy kind of warehouse type venue, just gives my voice a bit of clarity and takes away that like muffly area at the bottom. Also here, this is sort of like where my voice or the microphone that I use tends to have a bit of harshness, so it just carves out kind of a bit more of a clarity shape for my voice. I've also got a bit of reverb, which helps me tie in my voice more with the background. It makes it seem a little bit less kind of exposed. And that's how I mix my voice. Right, so the next thing I want to talk about just briefly is my Akai MPK MIDI controller, which I'm actually using to control a soft synth within Ableton. So this soft synth is really just overlaid over the chorus chords, so this bit. And it just gives it a little bit of an extra thing. It's also visually interesting for the audience to see, okay, there's kind of a bit of live keys going on. It's not something that drastically changes the sound, which for me is more of like a risk thing. I don't really want to have to play the key sound in the music live, because if I mess up whilst I'm also dancing and controlling live visuals and all this other stuff, it just can easily become quite overwhelming. So it's just kind of like a bit of a visual extra, adds a bit of texture to the sound. So the sound that I'm adding on top is just a really basic patch in Operator here in Ableton. It's called Clicky, and it sounds like this. Okay, and I'm basically just playing that at the same time as when the sort of hook of the track plays. So it's not a massive responsibility for me, it's just like a little bit of an extra sound on top, a little bit of an extra, you know, visually interesting element, which I just think is nice to have. The last thing I want to talk to you about is my use of visuals, which is really exciting. As I've already mentioned, there'll be a separate tutorial about how I create my visuals from graphics and so on. So that's not what I'm doing in this particular tutorial, but I just want to show you a tool called Ebo Suite. So on this track here, which I've labelled Ebo, I have got my Ebo Suite plugin. So Ebo Suite has a bunch of different plugins, and I'm using the Eclipse plugin at the moment. And it allows me to actually play back different video snippets in time with the song. So if I play different scenes, you'll see the video changing. There you go, rough demonstration there. But you can see that if I start to improvise, I want to play a section several times, I want to loop something for a little bit longer. I can do all that, and the videos will just very nicely adapt to what I'm doing. So in the live performance, what I will then do is I'll just drag my visuals window to the venue screen. You know, I will plug into their screen via HDMI, and I'll drag my window across so that the audience can see the visuals and I can see my Ableton window. So thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial video. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you found it useful. Like I've mentioned previously, if you want to find out more about what electronic artists do on stage, I've written a book about this topic, which I'll link down below in the description. And also please do subscribe to my channel and press the bell if you want to see more tutorial videos like this one, or alternatively if you want to see crazy music videos and that kind of thing. So I'll see you next time. Bye!